Hello, welcome to the Brain Scrub, a somewhat improvised approach to mental health. My name's Glenn Sollers, and thank you for tuning into today's episode, which is a very important episode for me because I discovered something that I've always kind of known, however, didn't really get it until I had a revelation as I was sitting in my hot tub that I have this thing that it's all up to me. My entire life, I felt it was all up to me. It's up to me to fix my parents. It's up to me to make sure everybody's happy. It's up to me to do this, to do that. And it's up to me to make sure that people get along. Like so many different things. And I take this all on. And it came about as a result of a situation that I found out about this week in respect to my son. And I haven't seen my son in 8 years. And what happened was I read something that really offended me. And it felt like it's another nail in the coffin for me in terms of me being in his life. And it got me super angry. I was upset. I was sad. I was helpless. And it gets back to this, it's all up to me that I need to control everything. And this is the one thing in my life that I have no control over at all. It's up to him. And just getting that was a big thing for me. But my friend, like, it's so great that I have amazing friends, and he's one of my best friends. And I reached out to him because I needed to talk to somebody. Because I had anger, I had resentment, and all these things were going on, and I just needed to share it with somebody. And I brought it up with him about this situation, and he reminded me that there's nothing I can do, that I'm a great dad. I've always done the best, and he's witnessed me as a great dad and as a great friend and as somebody who does the best for the community and helps people out. And he said, you know what, Glenn? This is also not your son. It has to do with somebody else who has helped him see the worst in me versus the best in me. And that there's nothing I can do about that. And it just reminded me of how I was always threatened through my relationship that I would lose my son. My ex would say, Glenn, if you don't do this, I'll take your son away. And she got him. And I never realized this campaign of denigration as time went on. And when my friend was talking to me, he just made me realize, Glenn, you have to let go. You have to let go because your son's doing what he needs to do right now. And if I push, if I try harder, it just is going to push him further away. And the challenge I've always had is there's so many mixed messages out there on podcasts and books you read about never giving up on reaching out to your child that might be alienated or estranged, writing letters and reminders of how much you love them and that your door is always open. And I've always done all that, but it always feels like I just get hit in the head. It's like whack-a-mole that I put my head up, I try to do something and I get hit. And then I put my head up somewhere else and I get hit. And I was so grateful that he talked to me about this, and he was really straightforward with me. He said, Glenn, stop it. Move on. One day when he's ready, he will come back, but it has to be on his terms. It was a tough pill to swallow for me because I love my son. I miss my son dearly. I know that there's been truths that have been manipulated into lies, that I've been portrayed as the evil father, the one that doesn't care about him, which is furthest thing from the truth. But I can't do anything about that right now. All I can do is I can wait for him and take care of myself, take care of my friends, be with my friends, be with the love of my life, my wife, and enjoy what I have and what I made. And that's just a small part of this. The bigger eye-opening piece of this for me was around the fact that I've always done this. I've always wanted to control everything because I felt it's Glenn's fault. He needs to do this. He needs to be this way. And I started thinking about my history, how when my parents would have a fight, I would try to cheer them up after the argument, because I grew up in a very quiet home at times where they would argue in the night and then there'd be silence the next day. And I remember trying to be goofy to inspire them to communicate. I remember trying to get my dad to stop smoking. I felt it was up to me. And I was told that you need to try harder. And I've done all these different things. And thank goodness, in a way, I had that upbringing, because I am very much self-made. I've always pursued my dreams. I've always gone after what I wanted. I've succeeded in a lot of different things in my life. I've taken risks. And this situation with my son is the one thing, and again, my friend reminded me of this, that I have no control over, that I'm trying to win and I can't. It's a losing battle. These words that I got, like, thank you to this friend. I love him so much. And the fact that he can be open and honest with me and tell me what I need to hear, even though it frickin' hurt in a way, was such a gift. And this whole thing around it's all up to me plays out in my finances, plays out in how I feel so bad about the environment. And I always feel guilty about what's happening and feeling there's something I should be doing to help curb climate change, whatever it is. But there's nothing I can do for so many different things out there. But I have a genuine concern over what's happening to our world. And I can do what I can. Like last week, I organized a garbage collecting thing where the sides of our streets here where I live have garbage on the sides of the road. Like, you wouldn't believe the stuff that I found. And I try to generate a campaign of let's clean up our streets, because our slogan in our little town here is nurtured by nature. And I'm telling you, the sides of the roads are not very pretty. But I was out there doing it. I don't know if anybody else did it. And it doesn't matter if they did or didn't. I'm doing the best I can based on what I have and based on what I know. And I'm going to make mistakes, but I have to start letting go of stuff, because it's not all up to me. Because if it's up to me, then I'm always trying harder versus just being in the moment and being okay with what's going on. Like if I'm at a party, I don't have to make sure everybody's having a good time. If I'm sitting with another couple, I don't have to be the center of attention trying to get conversation to go. And it's no wonder I feel anxiety in social events where there's more than 4 people, because then it makes my job more difficult, because everybody has to have a good time. And if I'm not having a good time and if I'm not showing up the right way, then that's going to impact everybody else. But I don't have that much power. I have no power in that respect. In fact, I'm powerless. And by me trying harder, disconnects me more, creates that anxiety, creates that nervousness. So this whole thing around it's all up to me is brutal for me. It stresses me out. Now, there's a positive side to this as well. It's the work that I do. I love my job. I love being in front of people, inspiring them to communicate, to build community, to really respect one another. That I love because I see transformation in how people relate to one another, which is part of my mission and my purpose. But when I go too far, or when I get distracted by somebody who I cannot control, I tend to focus in that direction and it throws me off. And I've gotten way better at this in the workshops that I do, but I still notice once in a while that it does upset me, that if somebody's disengaged in the workshop, that I instantly focus in on that and I think, oh my gosh, I have to try harder to do it. And now it all makes freaking sense, because that's what I've always done. I've always had to monitor my environment for safety and see what can I do to fix it? What is needed from Glenn to get things done? And even in this relationship with my son, I've tried everything. I've been researching tons of different things. I've taken risks, but it's been too much, likely. And it's time to let go. And time to give him the power and the control that he likely wants, but I haven't allowed him to have it. And this isn't just with my son. It happens with my wife. It happens with my friends. It happens with what I organize. And I'm not perfect. I am flawed just like all of us. I'm trying to learn from my flaws so that I can actually reduce my stress, because this part of me must stress other people out. Like if I were to ask them, what is it like to have a friend like me that feels like it's all up to them? And I mean, when I say them, I mean me. And I'm sure they'd say, Glenn, it's kind of annoying. It's a lot of pressure. You just need to relax. So here's my commitment, is I'm going to start letting go of things. It's going to change some people's expectations because I've created this expectation that I'm the organizer of events. But I'm willing to let that go. With my wife, there's things I need to let go of. It's not always up to me to do everything and to manage the finances and to make sure that we retire at a certain age. That's up to the two of us. And we're both responsible for that. In respect to my son, it's up to him to reach out to me. I've let him know my door is always open, and now I need to step back and let him do what he needs to do at this point in his life. Folks, make sure you have friends out there that you can talk to. Be willing to bounce ideas off them, to get them to provide their perspectives, because chances are they're much more objective in that situation than you are, because sometimes we get locked into situations and we believe certain things. And a friend is a great resource to help you see what you may not be seeing and to provide that clear lens that's not clouded by our own judgments and assumptions. And it's such a gift. And we need to be willing to ask for this gift once in a while. Our friends love us. I love my friends. And to leverage that community, to build a stronger you, to build some self-awareness, to create some aha moments so that we can reduce our anxiety levels, our stress levels, because we have enough going on in this world right now. Stress levels are skyrocketing in society. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media. And I've talked about social media in the past. But wow, if you can actually take yourself off social media, that is a great start because of so many different things. But that's just an example of one thing that I think stressing us out is we're always go, 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 go. But the one thing that we can all control are the little things that we do or do not do, that if we changed it, if we made a subtle difference in how we relate to others and how we relate to ourselves and spend some time considering these things, it provides some freedom. And for me, I've built up tension over the years, and I've noticed myself react to different situations in a way that creates more self-harm than self-good. And by having these little nuggets of, it's not up to me, it is a positive mindset versus going into the negative that it's all up to me, and then it spirals into chaos. Folks, thanks for listening.